Hello, it's Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021. I'm Pastor Ann Fenlason from Trinity Lutheran Church in Long Lake, Minnesota. Thank you for being here with me today. On Monday, I spoke a little bit about our journey in faith and how we humans, saint and sinner both, are very good at putting our relationship with God on the back burner. It's something that happens like this in our lives. For me anyway, there's periods of closeness and periods where I feel very far away from God. Life gets in the way, things get busy, too much is going on, and our faith gets pushed to the side. It's easy to let that happen. And once we stop setting aside intentional time, we get further and further away. That could be not doing a daily devotion. Once you stop doing them, it gets easier and easier not to do them anymore. Same thing holds true with going to church. Once you stop going to church for worship, it just gets easier not to do it. It's an interesting phenomenon. So on Monday, I suggested you make it more convenient. Put a book on the dining room table and have it ready to read before meals, after meals, together as a family. But I also want to talk today about another thing that happens when we stop making time for our faith and or spending time with God. It's that we tend to make our lives more about ourselves and getting our needs met. So what happens is how we see our faith, how we view our church. Well, that can easily shift our mindset into that of a consumer. And what that means is there are many well-intentioned churchgoers, followers of Christ, who think that church is a place where they can come to get their needs met. And as I look back on my own life of faith before I was even called into ministry, not long before, but I see that this was something that I did, and I did it rather self-righteously when it came to going to worship. So what I see is that through that period of time, as I do every day still, I curve inward on my sinful self, and it caused me back then to see my church through the eyes of a consumer. What can I get out of this? What's in it for me? And not as someone who sees the church as a place to worship, a place to give thanks, to ask for and receive forgiveness, and also about becoming more diligent about obeying God and following God's commands. Back then, what that actually caused me to do was to leave the church that I had grown into for a few years. This was in Milwaukee. I loved that church, but I left because there was a part of me that wasn't getting fulfilled, and it had nothing to do with God, and it had everything to do with me. So I went to a different church for maybe 12 to 18 months, but then I was called back to that church that I had left, and that was the very church where God called me to ministry. I had started going back to that regularly, twice a week even. I loved it. I could not get enough of it. And when I came back to that church, I was different. And I have to confess that while it was great to leave worship feeling uplifted, I finally learned to see that coming to worship was so much more than that. That how I felt at the end of worship, that was not God's main goal for me of being there, if it was a goal at all. I don't believe actually that God really gives too much thought as to whether or not we feel uplifted by worship, because worship is not ultimately about us. It's about God. It's the work of the Spirit that brings those things to our heart, that warms our heart. And if it doesn't happen, find something else about that service that God needs you to see, because you're not going to always leave uplifted. It's just the way it is. So all of these musings that I've had in these past few days have reminded me of a song that I discovered a number of years ago. I have the CD somewhere. I have no idea where it is. But it's a song that's sung by the Christian group Glad. And it's from their a cappella album entitled, and the song I'm referring to is called More of You. So let me sing the first two lines. More of you, less of me. Oh, my Father, I want to be a spotless vessel so all can see more of you and less of me. I'll put a link to that song in this post today, and may it bless you as it has blessed me. And I will see you at church. Bye-bye.